Elsewhere is based on the story of the 1919 Monaghan Asylum Soviet, when the staff of the psychiatric hospital in Monaghan town here in Ireland barricaded themselves in and declared an independent Soviet state. They were striking for better working conditions. And in the middle of that strike, which was led by revolutionary Peadar O'Donnell, they reintegrated the patients into a new form of working structure in the asylum. I think that the story is particularly interesting for the fact that both the staff and the residents of the hospital lived lives that were considered apart from the life in the town. I was intrigued at the idea that there was more of an openness towards radical thought in the staff because of the way that on a day-to-day basis they would have cared for people whose lives and whose minds might be considered outside the normal. People who live at the fringes of society. So I suppose from one point of view it's looking at this wonderful outburst of imagination and revolutionary thought, but at the same time wondering why it is that those threads often get lost in history. Our story in Elsewhere is based on the reminiscences and hallucinations of a patient in the hospital named Celine, where she imagines herself to be the revolutionary leader of a Soviet. I was very interested in how the vulnerable mind of a resident in the hospital might have been affected by the events around the Soviet. One of the particular challenges of this piece has been in the character of Celine and how to make the world flip back and forth between her physical presence in the psychiatric hospital and her reminiscences and hallucinations. One of the ways that I've allowed myself to do that has been by rupturing her voice between different styles. So at one moment we see her in a place of absolute vulnerability, and then we travel through her voice into visions of the Soviet, where she is clearly the centre of power on the stage. In searching for the type of hesitation and lack of clarity that you might have in the voice of somebody who's cutting in and out from their train of thought or who's hallucinating, I've been particularly interested in digging deeper into my own roots in traditional Irish music, and sean-nós song in particular. I think that there's something about the ornamentation in that tradition that allows for little ruptures of both the listening spectrum and of reality. Then to take that and to move it into the ensemble has been a really interesting challenge, and I think it's created quite an unusual musical texture that's at once rooted maybe in traditional Irish music but is at the same time very contemporary. I think that audiences can expect a work that's full of imagination and empathy. The thing that is both fascinating and difficult is that a lot of the same structures exist now that existed 100 years ago. It's not just a historical story, it's about how it's relevant to an individual and relevant to the present day.
The chaos in us, union of ordinary dissonance, dissidence, seeking deliverance, fearless decision. Union of ordinary dissonance, dissidence, uniting particles of difference. The chaos in us, union of ordinary dissonance,